Hello everyone, I'm excited today to share with you a little inspiration. As someone that runs a portrait studio, I'm always seeking inspiration. I know that I typically do my shoots for a client, and I say that lightly. I'm of course shooting for myself as well, but I am shooting for money. I'm shooting to make the sale or to create something my client is going to hang on their wall. And while that can be inspirational, it is really fun for me to be able to go outside the box, shoot something a little bit differently, or shoot something for myself. There are times when I will book a shoot or, request a model or look for somebody to come in to do something that I've been wanting to try. That's one great way to find inspiration. But for today, what I want to share is this ballet shoot that I did. You can kind of see they're black and white here that I have in front of you. A couple of them are color. Both of my little kids are in ballet. They were performing this summer in a ballet performance. I was hired to photograph the headshots for the program. And so this was dress rehearsal that you're seeing here. I was there that day. I had a little studio set up in the front and I was shooting all of the headshots. Once I got done, I headed into where they were rehearsing and I had my gear on me. I was looking around at the little bit of chaos that was happening and was really inspired by two things. One, there was this beautiful light. Let me see if I can find a shot. Here we go. You can see the full scene. This is the rehearsal room that they were rehearsing in. You can see up above, there's all these windows up here. There's a couple doors down here that had this beautiful light streaming in. I was also super inspired by their costumes. Who cannot be inspired by fun ballet costumes? But this particular ballet had a steampunk theme. So they had great costumes, these fun hats. They were very colorful, crazy pattern. I say colorful and I shot in black and white, but just the patterns and the textures, I was really inspired. I also love the fact that this was not a job that I had to shoot. So I found some inspiration in it. I had no expectations. I just wanted to watch and observe and see what I could capture. So I went through and pulled out a few of my favorites. So I'm going to go ahead and separate these or reorganize these by rating so you can see the ones that I've pulled out. I want to arrow through these a little bit so you can kind of see the story unfolding a little bit. This little girl on my right, if you've watched other videos, this is my daughter Lily and this is one of her friends. So at the same time I was trying to photograph my kids, they're just as inspiring. I love taking pictures of them as well. But I wanted to be able to photograph the event and be able to tell the story of what these kids were doing. This is one of my favorites. We'll actually work on this one here in a minute. So maybe nothing super spectacular, but you can see that the light is coming through. Everybody's kind of lit from behind. I think that the black and white mixed with the costumes makes a great shot. You see the story. You know that they're rehearsing. I love this shot of the girl spinning. So a great start. And I think once I got home and started looking at these photos, I was already excited. I loved what I had gotten from there. I loved that I was able to do this, photojournalistic style that I don't get to do every day. I still wanted to push it a little bit further. So I mentioned that there was a steampunk theme here. I wanted to kind of embrace that feel and give these a warm, kind of funky black and white feel to kind of push that a little bit further. So I'm going to go to this image that really inspired me. This was one of my favorite images that I pulled out of the day, and it was by chance that I got it. I love that this girl is looking at the mirror herself that makes it look like she's got a twin. I love the composition. So at very first, I thought I would crop out the right side here and just focus on her. But when I pull back and I look at the whole image, I see a story. I see the girl putting on her hat. I love that this girl is kind of blurry here, but they kind of frame her, and I think that they complete the story that I'm trying to tell. So let's push this image just a little bit further. So I think that is where I got my final inspiration for this, was being able to see what I could pull from this. I have a bunch of presets that I have. So when I had gotten home and pulled these in, my preset browser was actually open. If you see over here on the left, you can see that you've got some different different textures and different temperatures and color temperatures happening. If you see this one right here called Bombshell, this one caught my eye immediately. Again, I wasn't looking for a preset. I had just been looking through images, had my preset browser open, saw that and went, oh my goodness, I love that. So I had clicked on that to be able to see what it looked like. I can see the potential there, but it definitely does need help. I love the texture. I love that it kind of gives it that muted feel or that color tint that's in it, but it obviously needs a little help. So I'm going to reset this. I now know kind of where I want to head, and let's go ahead and work on this by itself and start from scratch. Part of being inspired for me too is starting something from scratch, not using a preset. You know, I want to try something new, or I want to play with my filters, or I want to see if I can come up with something a little different. So even though I'm inspired by this preset, I'm going to go ahead and close that and create my own. So I know the filters that I used in that, as well as the look that I kind of want to make here. So let's start with the tone enhancer. And I'm going to adjust my curves. I do this quite a bit so that we can get that matted look. So I'm going to pull up my blacks and I'm going to pull down my whites. Okay. So we're muting that down just a little bit. I'm going to pull up the exposure just a tiny bit as well. I'm going to pull up the contrast just a little bit. And then I think I will pull up the detail and the clarity so we can get a little bit more sharpness back in there. Probably about like that. So I can see it pulling back some more details in here. I love that. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is let's add that color tint to it. So we can give it that steampunk, I guess you want to say, or that old-fashioned kind of look to it. So I'm going to add a split tone. And to get that warm tone, I want my colors to be, in my highlights, more of a cream color, and then I want my shadows to have more of a tan or a brown tint to them. So one way we can do that is just click on the little color chiclet and move it around. I already know what color I want, so I'm going to put in a 40 on the highlights, and I'm going to put in a 48 in the shadows. So I'm going to have oops, I missed that one, sorry about that. So I'm going to have a cream and a tan, and actually I might make this a little bit more cream. So let's hold that up here a second, and we're going to go down, and I'm going to select that. Okay, and then let's make this one a little bit more. So let's go up a little bit heavier in the shadows. So probably about right there. So now we can see that nice brown tone kind of coming through there. Okay. And then my favorite texture, I'm going to go to the textures filter, and I'm going to use this texture a little bit differently. So my favorite one, as always, is the metal, and it's the grunge vignette. And I've said this in other videos. I love that light in between and the dark on the outside. But for this one, instead of having the mode be subtle, I'm going to change it to darker. Okay. Let's pull that opacity back just a little bit. And I'm going to pull that saturation down a little bit so it's not affecting. And we'll brighten that up just a little bit. Okay. So now we've got a little texture that's added in there. I kind of want a little bit darker, actually. Let's keep it a little darker. I kind of like that little bit extra grit in there. And then I'm going to add a little bit of vignette. So let's pull a vignette around it as well. And then I'm going to add one more. Let's just do a sharpen so we can sharpen it up just a little bit. I'm going to go back to the tone enhancer one more time. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this exposure down just a little bit. I want a little bit richer. There we go. So now we have our before, which is a nice clean black and white, and we've got our nice rich, and this to me just embraces that steampunk and that old-fashioned. It fits with her outfit, her hat. I really, really like this. So I'm going to go back to browse, and I'm going to go ahead and copy those settings. and I'm going to paste them on the rest of these. And it may not work perfectly on all of these. I know with that heavy vignette, you might need a little bit of change. But as I do this, it's going to take a second to add these here. I'm going to pull these open, and you can see it start adding it in, and just that richness comes through, and I think it changes the whole dynamics of these images. And if it's a little brown on this one, I might make a couple small changes and pull that opacity back a little bit when I go in. Lighting was changing just slightly a little bit as well, so I would probably pull that back, probably more like that, so it's not quite so sepia. There we go. I like that a little better. And so a few of these are probably going to need that actually. So that one was a lot brighter. So I'm going to copy the settings on this one where it's a little bit lighter and go ahead and repaste those one more time. So now, or I could sync it is another way to do it, whatever's easier for you, but it will sync the settings that I changed on this all to the rest of them. Starting with this one that was a little bit brighter to start, it needed to be darkened up a little bit. So I think it's actually good on the other ones to have them a little bit lighter. I think we can lighten that one up probably a little bit too. But if I open these up into compare mode to let you guys see, you can just see how the difference in the black and white has changed the whole entire mood of this session. I think that the inspiration was there for me to create something a little different or something that I don't do every day. I love these. I think they look like art pieces. I know a bunch of the moms have seen these since and love the shots as well. Another thing to push even further is I actually took this one that was my favorite and printed it on metal. So I sent it off to my lab and had it printed on metal. The metal was coming through with the texture on all the white areas, and it was beautiful. So that is now hanging on my studio. So finding a little bit of inspiration in an unexpected place, and then being able to get it all the way to the very end, to the output with both post and printing, was very awesome for me. I love being able to try something new, like I said, and kind of think outside the box and try to do something that is just for me and that pushes my creativity to a different level.